Okay, so we're back for another deep dive, and this time we're picking up with Rob again.
Yeah.
Right where we left off. Still in 1990, still on that crazy adventure of his.
Mm-hmm.
He's on the Sky Princess, sailing to the Caribbean, with a smaller crew this time, remember?
Yeah, much smaller.
Most of the team got off the ship back in Florida, and this crew's got one main job.
To build a steel firewall.
Yep, right inside the bow of the ship.
Yeah.
But, hey.
There's always time for fun.
Exactly. There's always time for adventure, right?
Exactly.
This time, it's Barbados and St. Thomas. Two pretty iconic Caribbean spots, you know. And let me tell you.
I bet it's beautiful.
Oh, it is. And Rob's experiences there are anything but ordinary.
Well, it's interesting because when you think about this part of his trip, what really stands out is how he gets past the whole tourist thing.
Mm-hmm.
He really digs into the local culture, and that's what makes these moments so memorable.
Absolutely. So first stop Barbados. Rob, Doc, and Smudger, they get a half day off to explore the island. So you can imagine, right? You step off a ship after days at sea.
Yeah.
What's the first thing you'd want to do? Probably head straight for the beach, right?
I mean, yeah. Most tourists would, right?
Exactly. But not Rob and his friends. They decided to take a taxi tour, which turned out to be a pretty smart move, actually.
A taxi tour?
Yeah. And they meet this local driver, Robert. And get this, not only does Robert offer them a special crew discount,
Wow.
but he also becomes their personal tour guide for the day. Talk about a lucky break.
Wow, that's incredible.
It is. Instead of the usual tourist traps, they got to see Barbados through Robert's eyes.
Absolutely. That's the best way to see a place, right? Like a local.
Totally. And it's this chance encounter that turns into like a real cultural immersion.
That's great.
Robert takes them to Dover Beach and Crane Beach.
Oh, I've heard of those.
Oh, they were the classic postcard beaches. White sand, turquoise water. They swim, they relax, they soak up that Caribbean sun.
Sounds perfect.
It does. But then things take a hilarious turn. Robert takes him to this bar, styled like an old British pub, right?
Uh-huh.
Complete with rows of those classic beer pumps.
Oh, yeah, I know those.
Now Rob, being British,
Right.
he probably thought he hit the jackpot.
Right.
Ready for a proper pint.
Yeah. I can imagine the excitement.
But get this, the barman, he laughs
What?
and tells him those pumps are purely decorative.
No way.
All they have is Red Stripe.
Red Stripe.
That's Jamaican beer. For those who don't know, it's such a classic travel moment, right? Those little unexpected surprises that make the best stories.
Exactly.
But it's not just about the laughs. Before dropping them off, Robert, he invites the trio to dinner.
Oh, wow.
As family home when they return to Barbados in 10 days.
That's so nice.
It goes beyond just sightseeing. It's about genuine human connection, which is really at the heart of travel, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. It shows how open and welcoming the locals are and how travel can create these unexpected friendships.
Exactly. And after Barbados, the Sky Princess does this whirlwind tour of other islands. Martinique, Mayreau, St. Martin.
Oh, wow. Island hopping.
Yeah, think of it like a sampler platter of the Caribbean. You have French charm in Martinique, laid-back vibes in Mayreau, a mix of Dutch and French cultures in St. Martin.
It's like a taste of everything.
It is. And then it's on to St. Thomas, where Rob decides to try something completely new.
Oh, what is it?
So we're in St. Thomas now, and Rob and some crewmates, they are relaxing on Coki Beach.
Okay.
And someone offers them a drink.
Okay.
What do you think he chooses?
I don't know, a beer?
Nope. A soft drink.
Really? Why?
Because he's got his sights set on something bigger. He wants to try scuba diving.
Wow, scuba diving in 1990? That's pretty cool.
Yeah. And who does he convince to join him on this underwater adventure?
Well, it's got to be Smudger, right?
It is. Smudger's always up for anything. They find a dive shop right there on the beach. And after a quick intro and some basic training.
Back in the day when you didn't need a fancy online course.
Right. They're ready to dive in.
That's so cool.
Imagine that feeling, breathing underwater for the first time, surrounded by this whole new world.
I can only imagine.
They're seeing coral reefs, colorful fish, a whole ecosystem they've never encountered before.
It's life-changing.
It is, and it's clearly a life-changing experience for Rob. He even sets a goal to get SCUBA certified someday. That's how much of an impact it had on him. Okay, so picture this. Rob's in Barbados with his buddies, Doc and Smudger.
Classic cruise ship names.
Right. But they're not just there for the beaches and the bars. See, they've actually become friends with their taxi driver, Robert, and his wife, Paige, over a few trips.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, it is. And this time, Robert invites him over for a home-cooked Bajan dinner with his family. And for Rob, This is where things get really interesting.
A home-cooked meal. That's always special when you're traveling, right? It's like a real glimpse into the culture.
Totally.
Yeah.
And for Rob, it was more than just the food. Get this. He'd never even tried sweet potato before.
Really?
Yeah. But what really stuck with him was how generous and welcoming Robert's family was. Like, he talks about feeling truly privileged to be invited into their home. You could tell it really made an impact on him.
It's those little things, isn't it? Just sharing a meal can be so powerful.
Absolutely. And that connection leads to this, like, really heartwarming moment of kind of, returning the favor.
Oh.
Yeah, so Rob, Doc, and Smudger decide to invite Robert and Paige to visit the Sky Princess next time they're in Barbados. You can imagine, like, Robert and Paige all dressed up, enjoying the best the ship has to offer, all thanks to these guys pulling some strings.
That's lovely. I love those kinds of stories, where a little kindness just keeps going back and forth.
Yeah, it's great. So the Sky Princess keeps sailing on. They hit Antigua, Puerto Rico. But Rob and his friends, they don't get a ton of time off. They got to keep that ship running, right?
Right, of course.
But they still manage to find time for some fun and, a little competition. It all starts with this invitation to an intercrew football match.
Football? You mean soccer?
Yeah, soccer. Great Britain versus Mexico.
Yeah.
Classic rivalry.
Ooh, I bet that was a fun atmosphere.
Oh, you know it.
Yeah.
The match is in St. Thomas, and they get there, and this giant container gets lifted off the bus. They all think it's the football kits,
Okay.
but it's full of ice and beer.
Woo, party time.
Caribbean pregame, right. So Rob starts the match as the referee.
He's the ref.
Yeah. But then, in true crew spirit, he and Smudger end up subbing in for the Great Britain team in the second half.
Oh, I bet that was a sight to see. So how'd our fitter do against the Mexican team?
Well, let's just say age and agility weren't exactly on his side. Final score. Mexico 2, Great Britain 0.
Oof. Not a great showing for Great Britain, then.
Nope. But it's not the loss that makes this match memorable, though.
Okay, what happened?
So remember how I mentioned Rob's a fitter, right? Well, those skills came in handy during the game in a kind of unexpected way.
All right, now you got to tell me. What happened? How do fitter skills translate to the soccer field?
Let's just say he was a little overzealous with his tackling. This young Mexican player, he just breezes past Rob. And Rob, well, in a moment of desperation, kind of brings him down. Not a clean tackle.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Yellow card for Rob.
That's right.
It gets funnier, though. It's the aftermath that's really hilarious. Rob's surrounded by all these angry Mexican players, right? And in that moment, he says it felt like being at the Alamo.
Haha. Oh, man, I can just imagine that scene.
Classic Rob, finding humor in the chaos.
That's brilliant. But, okay, I gotta ask. What exactly did it being a fitter on this cruise ship entail?
Oh, that's a great question. And it's actually way more involved than you might think.
All right, let's dive into that then. I'm curious to hear more about what Rob actually did on this ship.
It's like, you got to think about it, right? A cruise ship, it's basically a massive floating city.
Yeah, that's true.
And everything's got to work perfectly. Engines, generators, plumbing, air conditioning, the whole 9 yards.
I never really thought about all that.
And Rob's job was to keep it all running smoothly, which, in the middle of the ocean, is no easy task.
Yeah, I bet. What kind of challenges was he talking about?
Oh, all sorts. He describes it as this constant battle against, like, time and the elements.
The elements.
Yeah. You got the ship rocking back and forth, salt water eating away at everything. Plus, these systems are crazy complicated.
I can imagine.
He's talking about squeezing into tiny spaces,
Yeah.
working in, like, sweltering heat, fixing leaks, repairing pumps, all this stuff.
Sounds intense.
Oh, it was. Definitely not a job for everyone.
It's amazing, though, to think about, all the work that goes on behind the scenes to make that cruise experience so enjoyable.
Totally. And you know what I found really cool? Even with all that pressure, like keeping everything running, Rob never loses his sense of humor.
That's a good sign, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like he tells these stories about, screwing things up or facing these crazy challenges, but he does it with this, like, lightheartedness.
The home stretch.
Exactly. But before we hit the home port, we've got one last stop.
Ooh, a good one. We're talking San Juan, Puerto Rico. Just picture it. The ship rolls into this bustling port. It's got this amazing blend of cultures.
And a bit of that old Spanish colonial vibe, right?
Absolutely.
So think about this. You're Rob. You've been at sea for weeks, months even. What's going through your head as you see land?
I think relief has got to be a big one. You're wrapping up a demanding job, And then there's the excitement of a new place to explore, all those sights and sounds and smells.
But there's also that other side of it, isn't there? Saying goodbye to all those shipmates, the guys you've been working alongside day and night.
You know, it's funny. Rob talks about this mix of joking around and genuine well wishes.
Yeah, like a bittersweet kind of feeling.
Absolutely. Those engine room bonds, they run deep.
Forged in sweat and hard work, right?
That's it. And speaking of bonding, Rob, Doc, and Smudger, they don't waste any time finding their way to San Juan's famous salsa clubs.
From the engine room's heat to the dance floor heat.
Haha, right. Think about that shift. 1 minute, you're in this industrial setting, all clanking metal and the roar of machinery. Next thing you know, you're surrounded by pulsating music.
It's like stepping into a different world. Reb describes the salsa club as this total sensory overload. Music, heat, the swirling colors of dancers.
And you know, he puts you right there on the dance floor with him. The music just takes over, he writes. You can't help but move.
Do you think he had any moves? Was he a good dancer?
You know, maybe not a pro, but I don't think that was the point. This is about letting loose, celebrating the end of a chapter. It's about connecting with people in a totally new way.
And remember, this is 1990. No internet, no cell phones. The Salsa Club is a real escape from the routine of ship life.
Oh, yeah, totally. Just pure immersion in something different.
And even though this SGM is coming to a close, Rod hints at more adventures in his future. Sounds like the travel bug has bitten him hard.
Absolutely. I think that's what's so interesting about Rob's story. It's not just about the places, but how those places change him, you know. Each SGM adds another layer to who he is.
Eventually, Rob, Doc, and Smudger have to head home. And there's this really poignant scene where they're having one last beer together before they go to the airport.
I love those moments.
Me too. It's kind of bittersweet, you know?
Yeah. Definitely a little bit of sadness, but also a lot of joy looking back on the adventure.
And you can just imagine them reminiscing about their time on the ship.
Yeah.
You know, all the highs and lows.
Yeah, the camaraderie, the inside jokes, the crazy stories.
Exactly. And it really makes you appreciate those shared experiences you have when you travel with people. At the very end of the excerpt, there's this little tease.
Oh, a cliffhanger.
Yeah, it hints that there are more adventures to come.
Ooh, I want to know what happens next.
I know, me too. But unfortunately, that's all we get for now.
Oh, man.
But it really makes you wonder about Rob's next chapter.
It does, and it makes me think about all the incredible places there are to explore in the world.
If you're looking for more captivating stories,
there are more.
I bet.
Go check out Beyond the Engine Room.
Yeah. More tales of adventure from the world of engineering.
You won't regret it.
Thanks for joining me on this deep dive.
Anytime.
Catch you next time.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye.